Coming from Norway, me and my brother used to spend all our summer holidays of our childhood on the coast of Norway. And we'd be catching a lot of fish. And we weren't catching fish, we were catching more fish. And once in a while, we'd take a break. We'd go and look if we could find some crabs, and we'd be right back at fishing. That's what childhood in Norway is like. But at night, we'd play some games. And one of the games we'd play is a game called What Am I? It's a game where I will give you some clues, and you have to figure out what I am. You ready to play this? All right. In Poland, where we are today, there is 17,000 of me. Across Europe, me and my fellow buildings consume 2% of all electricity. My main internal organ is a refrigeration system. If me and my fellow buildings work together, we could replace a power plant. Any ideas yet? Very good. We have a supermarket over there. It's a place where every one of you visit regularly. It's a supermarket. It's like this one. I am a Biedronka. Actually, if we connect enough supermarkets across Europe, we cannot replace just one coal-powered power station. We can replace 10. 10 power stations. Now, how is this possible? How can we replace 10 power stations with supermarkets? Well, as I told you, the most important organ in a supermarket is a refrigeration system. A refrigeration system is powered by a row of compressors. And these compressors have 70% free capacity. So why is that, you will ask? Well, the reason is, if we look throughout a year, the temperatures go vary a lot throughout the year, from the warmest point in time during the day to the coldest point in time of the day. And as some of you who are living here in Poland will know, is even now just between winter and summer, it's even between Monday and Friday. Big differences. But to keep our food fresh and healthy, we need to have the system dimensioned to the absolute warmest time of the day. But that also means that there's a lot of time where the refrigeration system and the compressors, this little power station, has free capacity. That is untapped potential. If we look across Europe, there's a lot of supermarkets. That's a lot of untapped potential. And if we work together, put all these supermarkets, all these individual pockets of opportunities, and we put them together and we network them, we could have not just a lot, we could have a huge potential. If we connected all the supermarkets across Europe, and untapped this potential, we would create as much electricity as 20% of all existing windmills today. Think about that. 20% of all existing windmills. That's how much electricity we could produce. Or 50% of all existing solar panels. That is a lot of electricity. Not only could we do that, but we have another challenge, which is as we shift to more renewables, solar panels and windmills, we also experience the surge of electricity demand, the rush hour. During the day when you are awake, you need to charge your cell phone, you watch some TV, you use your laptop, you have the light turned on. You use a lot of electricity. But at night, you have a very low demand for electricity. But the waves are still coming. The wind is still blowing. It's still a lot of electricity being produced, but we need somewhere to store this. We need a battery for that. You heard a lot about this. But what is the solution? One solution could be to use the refrigeration system. We can use the refrigerators as a thermal storage unit to capture that energy. we can, during the night, freeze the food just a little bit more. And during the day, we can release that energy back into the grid. Sounds exciting? Also sounds futuristic, right? But I'll let you in on a little secret. Firstly, we can change energy from supermarkets from being a cost to be a source of revenue. Shifting it from being a cost to something you can make money on. And secondly, we can do it today. The first supermarket of the future is already existing. It's in the city of Oldenburg in northern Germany. They have driven the supermarket to be very efficient in terms of energy consumption. They have unleashed the full potential of the refrigeration system. And lastly, they've connected this to the energy system. Starting with the big problems of the world, like climate change, you need to start small. Take the small steps. But you also need to start smart. To unleash the full potential of the supermarkets, we need to do 3 things. We need to make sure that every supermarket is energy efficient. We need to unleash the potential of the refrigeration system. And we need to connect the supermarkets to the electricity grid. If we do that, we'll put more money in the pockets, and we'll make the planet a better place. And you can start today by starting and sharing the secret of the refrigeration system. If we look at the energy efficiency, we'd start out looking at heating, cooling, ventilation, the lights. Probably thinking, great, what are we going to do there? But the fact is, by 2050, half of all electricity savings potential is in heating and cooling. 50% of all energy savings potential is in cooling and heating of buildings. Think about that for a second. Half. Now, probably a lot of fancy things we need to fix this, right? Well, I worked for 10 years in supermarkets in Denmark and Germany, and I can tell you some very basic things. Let me give you a couple of examples. You know, when you walk into a supermarket, you start picking your vegetables, it's a nice and comfortable temperature. You go down, you pick some cereals, and the closer you get to that area where the milk is, the colder it gets. You start to freeze. You know this? You know, sometimes you feel like you have to put a jacket on because it's that cold. When you have that feeling, when you're walking into a supermarket and you're starting to feel cold, think the following. Money flying away, wasting money. Because what's happening is we're producing the cold and letting it fly out. A simple solution, not rocket science, is to put doors on the refrigerators. Putting doors on the refrigerators will dramatically reduce energy consumption and improve the energy efficiency. I'll give you a second example. You all came here. Many of you came by car. Imagine this, you're driving a car, you park it, you get out of the car. And there'll be this annoying sound that will let you know if you forgot to turn off the light. You know this? You know the annoying sound? Warning you, you forgot to turn off the light. What is that telling you? It's telling you, if you leave without turning off the light, the car will continue to use energy. It'll continue to use electricity. And I'm sure there's many of you, like me, who've had to learn this the hard way. You come back to the car after a few hours, excited to go home, and nothing happens. No more electricity. What if we were to install small sensors on the lids of the freezers? You've probably seen it as well, right? You have a kid coming into the supermarket. He's been told by his parents, you can take an ice cream. He's so excited. He rushes in, opens the lids, take an ice cream, off he is. The lid stays open. If we had a small sensor on this door, it could notify the personnel working in the store. It says, listen, there's a door to a freezer being open. We are wasting money. We are not being energy efficient. Once we've implemented these tools that are relatively simple, high effect, high benefit, we'll have an energy efficient store. Once we have that, we look to release the full potential of the refrigeration system. I want you to imagine the following. It's a winter day. Overnight, we had 0.5 meter of snow come. You've had to scrape the ice off the window. I know in Poland you know that feeling. Scrape the ice off the window, you get in the car, you drive to the supermarket. When you arrive in the supermarket, there's no snow on the parking lot. You get out of your car, you come into the store, there's no water on the floor. You know how that is when you come in the winter day and you're careful not to slip because everybody had wet shoes? No water. You met with pleasant light, a nice temperature. That's what you experience when you come into a store of the future. But how is that possible? Are we going to put floor heating in the parking lot? Sounds crazy expensive, right? Well, if you take a refrigerator, if you ever try to put your hand behind your refrigerator at home or in a store, what do you feel? Heat. Exactly. You feel heat. Why is that? Because to make something cold, what you do is you take the heat out of the air. You take the heat out of the air, you make it cold. Most supermarkets today are taking all this heat and they're blasting it into the atmosphere. Let's get rid of it. But think about the following. What if we took that heat and we capture it and we funnel it back into the system? We utilize that to put heat into the building, heat into the floors, heat into the parking lot to melt the snow, and we could even take it to put the heat back into the houses of all the people living around the area, instead of just blowing it away. That'd be pretty cool. I'll give you a fact. In Germany, the refrigeration system, just the refrigeration system of supermarkets, is using 1.4% of all electricity in Germany. 1.4% of all electricity use is just the refrigerators in supermarkets. 1.4% may not sound like much, so I'll give you a bigger number. It's 1.8 billion, with a B, 1.8 billion euro if we save that 1.4%. That's a lot of money. And even more amazingly, the things that would have to be done to save that has a return on investment of 1.5 years. 1.5 years payback time. You will be hard-pressed to find something that has such a good return on investment. And what we're doing here is we're changing the supermarket from being somebody that uses a lot of energy to actually being a provider of energy, a provider of electricity back to the community. As a third step, what we would do, we would connect the supermarkets to the grid. We've made it effective, we've unleashed the potential, now let's have it connected. You remember my example before of how we could use the cheap energy of the night? We could store it in the freezers. We could unleash it back. But for that, we also need to be able to push it back into the system. We need to be able to connect it to the grid. But also, there's a second thing supermarkets can do. Supermarkets tend to have really big floor space and really big roofs. They're perfect for putting solar panels on. By putting solar panels on the roofs of supermarkets, they can not just generate electricity for their own need, but being connected to the grid, we can funnel all of that electricity back in for use by the rest of the community. That's pretty amazing. What we can do is we can change supermarkets from being a store where you can buy green groceries to being somewhere where you get green groceries as well as green energy. We started out talking that supermarkets are using 2% of all electricity. If we work together, if we connect the supermarkets, we can close 10 coal power plants. We can produce the same amount of energy as 10 coal power plants. We can make green energy something the supermarket can offer to its community. It's super cost effective. It's a good return on investment. It's good for your wallet, and it's good for the environment. And it starts with you. Each one of you can take an action. You need to help us to share the secret of the untapped potential of the supermarket. Share the secrets of the untapped potential of the supermarket. And we're doing 3 things. We're making the supermarkets more effective, more efficient. We're untapping the potential of the refrigeration system, and we're connecting the supermarkets to the grid. We start small, but we start smart. Remember those summers in Norway? It took me 30 years from catching those fish to come to this stage to talk to you today. We don't have 30 years to do the supermarkets of the future. Please share the secret of the untapped potential of the supermarket. Thank you for your time.
Don't go away. You don't get away that easy. You travel a long way. You know, the amount of inertia that exists out there in business, in people's minds, when it comes to thinking about changing these sort of paradigms shifts, is huge. But yet you've just shown us very practical examples of it works, it makes money, it's good for everybody.
Yep.
How easy or difficult are you finding it right now, today, to convince customers that actually that's the way to go?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think most supermarkets realize the potential, but it sometimes challenges to choose where you start and where you finish. And it's sometimes difficult to choose which task you do first. I think that's the first thing. So we need to make it very practical and easy for them to do, because these ideas sounds big. I mean, getting the connection, replacing the power plants. But it's very small, smart steps we need to do along the way. So I think we can get them energized and get them understand where the vision is, and then help them get the small steps. But I think there's a second challenge to that, which is many supermarkets understand what they can do, but they may not have the cash available to do those investments, even if it's not big ones. Because in the last many years, supermarkets have been pressured a lot on the margins. So we may have to look at new business models, new ways to do that, to help them unleash the potential.
The new models of financing.
New models of financing, probably. I mean, there'll be a mix of different things, but certainly new models of financing. Because many of the beneficiaries of the supermarkets will be not just a supermarket, it'll be all of us. All the communities living around the supermarket that could have cheaper energy, cheaper heating, cheaper electricity. So we need to work together as a community to help the supermarkets unleash the potential for all of us.
You're doing this on a global scale. How are you finding the cultural differences in terms of selling this as an idea?
Yeah, I think I would say in general in the developed world, we have a higher importance or higher understanding of the need for energy efficiency and also the benefit of supporting the change. So first of all, we have a higher focus on climate change. But secondly, we also have a higher pressure on our margins. Many developing markets can still rely purely on the growth. And it's, let's say, lower in their priority scale. So that would be...
Here we have a question from the audience. How close are we to an intelligent supermarket?
Okay, sorry, I just had to get the question here. So how close are we to an intelligent supermarket? I think actually we have all the building blocks to get there. We have monitoring of the stores. We have digital monitoring of the stores so that you can actually remotely monitor even individual fridges. But we need to have it implemented everywhere. So some chains, and I won't mention names, but some chains are quite advanced and some are quite behind in terms of the development. And then we need to get all the puzzle pieces together. But like I said in my speech, all the building blocks required is here today. It's not rocket science. We just need to do it.
Let's hope it happens over the next couple of years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Kjell
much.
Stroem.
Thank you.